Left brain and right brain. So the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body, and the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body. That's kind of how it works physically, but there's also a difference in how the two sides operate in the mind. So the right side is more involved in body sensations, intuition, gut feelings, creativity. It's kind of emotions, and I think of the right side as slightly softer side. That's just how I choose to think about it. And the left side of the brain is more involved in logic and reason and lists and programming. I think of left for logic. So there's quite a difference between what the two sides of the brain control. And in order to coordinate us, both physically and mentally, there is a runway. I think of it like a runway called the corpus callosum, which is literally like a track between the two sides of the brain that sends messages backwards and forwards to coordinate the body and to coordinate the mind. Physically, we need those two sides to talk to each other. Otherwise, coordinating the body and balancing and moving is quite hard. So we need a strong corpus callosum. But also in the mind, this is quite a good example I read somewhere, and I can't really remember where I read it anymore, but kind of like if the right side, being emotional, sort of kicks up a bit, something happens and the emotional side is stimulated, it sends a message across to the left side. The left side, being more logical and rational and reasonable, kind of assesses the situation, sends a message back to the right side saying, we're fine, don't worry, chill out, and the brain comes back into balance. If there isn't such a good connection between the left side and the right side might send a message, but the left side doesn't get it, or the left side sends a message back and the right doesn't get it. So there isn't this coordination between the two sides of the brain, and we don't come back into balance. So we could potentially live a little bit more in this heightened state, this slightly more emotional state. Now, kind of unsurprisingly, I suppose, there is often a thinner corpus callosum found in people with mental health conditions, particularly in trauma, particularly in early life trauma, where perhaps this brain region just didn't develop quite such a strong connection as it might otherwise have done. And that might be one of the reasons that people that do feel a bit unwell feel a little bit less able to feel in control and maybe feel a little bit less balanced in themselves. Now, but we can do something about that, which I think is great. So because of the physical connection between the two sides of the brain, we can use the body to start strengthening this runway. As an example, children that play a musical instrument, which if you think it through logically, involves a lot of coordinating the left and the right side of the brain. Children that play musical instruments several times a week have a 25% thicker and stronger corpus callosum than children that don't. We can use the body in that way, using instruments, any way that moves the body. We can also do it with physical exercise, particularly things like yoga. If you think through any yoga class that you've been to, you can realise how often in yoga you have to coordinate the left and the right side of the body, i.e. all the time. Not only that, how often you cross the midline, how often you're wrapping an arm underneath a leg or wrapping your arms in eagle or cow face, not just physically but also in the breathing techniques. Things like Nadi Shodhana, you're inhaling up one nostril and exhaling out the other, inhaling, exhaling, you're crossing the midline. And so one yoga class is the equivalent of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of messages going backwards and forwards between the left and the right side of the brain and strengthening this corpus callosum, which has a knock-on effect because when that area is stronger, then we've got a better communication between the left and the right side, and we're more able to feel balanced. Now, there are many, many reasons why yoga makes us feel balanced and many reasons why yoga makes us feel calm. But I would think, and I don't know if anyone's ever been able to look at this specifically, but one of the reasons that yoga makes us feel so much more in balance and so much calmer is because we strengthen the connection between the two sides of the body, or the brain even, and therefore we become more in balance.